one of a few players to win a trophy at Tottenham in your lifetime as well, but they're not just goalkeepers.
What you think about the Spurs goalkeeping situation and whether we might see a transition at some point?
I sat at my kitchen table and designed them with Nike. We said, what we're going to do going into the World Cup. Yeah, what we're going to do going into the World Cup.
I told you, ahead of your time. I said that.
Allison's obviously followed your inspiration.
Excuse the pun. Just going back to Thomas Frank, you think Spurs are in safe hands?
Very much so, yeah. I think, like I said to you before, he's a builder, not a fireman. And I think Spurs are in safe hands for a long time to come.
Delighted to be joined once again by Paul Robinson, one of just a few goalkeepers to win a trophy at Tottenham in my lifetime. Paul, thanks so much for coming on again.
That's all right. One of a few players to win a trophy at Tottenham in your lifetime as well, but they're not just goalkeepers.
Cheers.
And as you said, one of the few goalkeepers to score for Leeds and Spurs. I've said before when Paul came on last time, I kind of missed your goal because I was looking down at the programme and I haven't bought a programme since. Genuinely, I was like, I'm never buying a programme again in case I miss you scoring. Right, Spurs. Let's talk about Spurs. Did you think it was right for Ange to go? The time was right despite the Europa League. And how have you seen the start for Thomas Frank?
There's two questions in one there. Was it right for Ange to go? I think it split decision. I think it split a lot of people's opinions at the time. But I think there's a lot of people that got carried away in the euphoria of winning the Europa League. An incredible achievement after 17 years to end the 17 years with such a major trophy. Yeah. You know, the parade and the scenes and everything like that. And it's quite easy to get caught up in that. But then you look at I think Daniel Levy at the time may have had one eye on what Manchester United did with Erik ten Hag after the FA Cup final. And, thinking that one trophy solves a lot of problems. And it didn't. When you look at the Premier League campaign last year,
recording in progress.
To be the best of the worst, if you like, to be the ones that only just stayed up in the Premier League, it's unacceptable, that amount of defeats. And listen, didn't even make 40 points. Any other season would have been in a relegation battle. So that obviously probably was at the forefront of the board's mind. And I could understand why he went. And I think it was a good time, in all honesty. Me personally, I think it was a good part of the waves, because you look, I know hindsight's a great thing to have, but you look at the way that he started at Nottingham Forest. I spoke to a lot of my Tottenham friends this morning coming into the studio here today on the phone, and messages going, sending little memes backwards and forwards. Now, don't you miss these times? All the stats when Ange has taken over, like, but they've conceded this amount of chances, this amount of goals. They've had this lack of opportunities. And I think when you look at it, I think that the time was right. So no, I wasn't surprised. But I was very pleased with the recruitment that they made in Thomas Frank. The little time that I've spent in and around his company, either on the other side of the microphone or across the desk interviewing, and he just comes across with a warmth. And when you speak to players, the big thing for me as a player that I used to respond to, and it's probably a personal choice more than anything, was man management, and the way that the manager spoke to you and treated you as a group of players. And everything that you hear about Thomas Frank, it's so personable. He cares about his players and the way that he deals with these players. I was really impressed that Tottenham went out and got him. And actually, when you see what he's done at Brentford and how tactically aware and clever that he is, it seemed a good fit for Spurs.
Can I ask, I know you left, were you surprised when Ramos left after winning the League Cup? You had to wait till October to go, but was that a surprise to you? I'm just thinking of other Spurs managers that have left soon after winning a trophy.
No, I wasn't surprised to me, because the dressing room wasn't on side. That's why I left. I mean, me and him didn't see eye to eye at all. And, with hindsight, I should have stayed and outlasted him. But sometimes you can't see the woods for the trees. Yeah. We just won the Carling Cup, as it was, the League Cup at the time. But I knew playing in that final that I was leaving at the end of the season, because he didn't want me around and I wasn't going to play. At that point, he'd taken me in and out of the team. And I think I didn't play one of the legs of the semi-final. I only played one leg of the semi-final. He put me in for the final and I was in and out of the team. Listen, granted, my performances probably didn't warrant playing and I wasn't in a good place at that time. But the way that he's the man management and the way he handled that situation, I wanted to get out. I wanted a fresh start and I needed to play. But Juande Ramos left, obviously. And, like I say, hindsight, you look back, could have probably seen that coming. And then Harry came in, a manager that I'd have probably loved to have played for. But I couldn't see past the end of next week, and I wanted to play every week. And with Juande Ramos, I wasn't going to be there. He was never the right fit for Tottenham. Came in, tried to overhaul things, change it far too rapidly, and put his own stamp on things. Was not adaptable in any way, shape, or form. And he didn't have 100% support of the dressing room. In fact, he didn't have a lot of the dressing room on board.
When you joined Spurs, it was probably the summer that resonates with me as some of the biggest changes I've ever seen. type of manager. Martin Jol came in and behind him. Frank Arneson, I think, came in at the same time. Loads and loads of new players. We're obviously going through a bit of a summer of change, or just had a summer of change this time round. Does it have a different feel in a pre-season than the first few games when you find yourself, as one of the leaders of a new group and, trying to start a new era of a club? Or is it just same for a player, you just get on with it?
Well, it's interesting. When I signed for Tottenham without a manager. I signed for Pleaty. Pleaty was Daniel's right-hand man, like director of football, whatever title that you want at the time. When I signed for Tottenham, they didn't have a manager that summer when I actually signed the papers. And then it was Jacques Santini who came in for the first few games of that season. Obviously, that ended very quickly. And then Martin came in. But yeah, it's a word that we use quite often, in a transitional period. They're in transition. Tottenham are not in transition. I think they've brought in a top-class manager in Thomas Frank, and they're coming off the back of winning a major European trophy. So we talk about managers getting jobs, and 9 times out of 10, a manager gets a job when things aren't going well. But actually, there's two sides of the Tottenham coin. When Thomas Frank got the job, they've just won a major European trophy, yet they finished the lowest position that they've finished ever in the Premier League. So yes, that change was needed at both levels, as in players and staff and managerial changes were made. But I think the nucleus of the squad and the nucleus of the playing staff that have just come off the back of winning a major European trophy, it was a good base for him to start from. So it's a little bit different to others in a similar way, not the same way by any stretch of the imagination, to Arne Slot at Liverpool, what he picked up off Jurgen Klopp. They picked up, top level. Tottenham, they had the basis in there. They've got a big European trophy in there. But actually, you're not picking up a team who's just finished 17th in the Premier League and had an awful season, domestically in the cup competitions as well.
What's it like for a goalkeeper when a new manager comes in? Is it different to players, outfield players? You've got new staff, maybe a new goalkeeping coach. Is there any difference?
It's like your first day at school again. Everyone's out to impress. You say about a clean slate and everything, but the manager will like it or not, and managers deny it or not, they'll have preconceived ideas of you. They will all. A manager that knows he's going to get a job at a certain club, they will have spent however long doing the due diligence on the playing staff that they've got. They'll know what they want to change, who they want in or out, and what type of football that they want to play. So immediately, you're already, a manager comes in, and you can tell whether they like you as a player or they don't want you around as a player because of the way they want to play. And managers out of work will look at other clubs, and also managers in work that they will have played against the club that they're about to join. So that they will have intelligence. They will know exactly what they're walking into. And as players, you've either got to change their mindset or continue in the same way as what you've been doing to make them that want you around anyway. It's difficult, but a manager comes in the middle of a season without a transfer window. He's kind of got to get on with everybody to start with.
But most goalkeepers are number one, and they sort of stay number one unless something really serious happens. Has there been a case where you've been number one, a new manager's come in, you're like, oh my God, maybe I'm not number one anymore?
Yeah, Juande Ramos straight away at Tottenham with me. But I wasn't playing well. The England-Croatia game happened when the ball went over my foot, and I didn't expect the barrage of abuse and criticism that I got after that. And that was the first real dent in my career that I'd had. And I didn't know at the time how to handle that, both mentally and physically. You just thought it would go away. But actually, when you've got people around your house, around your gates at home, and, every day you're taking the kids to school and here, there and everywhere, that then mentally goes into your everyday work. And like I say, I wasn't playing well or in a good place. And he was the worst manager that I could have had at that time because he didn't understand me, didn't want to talk to me, and his door was never open. Granted, take me out of the team, knock on the door, let me come in and talk to you to say, what do I need to do? Help me get back to where I was, not pretend that you can't speak English only when you want to speak English, and don't be there for your players. Wow. So immediately, as soon as he walked in a similar, I don't know the relationship that Pep had with Joe Hart, but he had a preconceived idea that he wasn't for him. So immediately went out and got Claudio Bravo. That didn't work. He wasn't for him. And he changed again. But listen, that's situations that you're in with players. So yeah, it's always difficult, and you have to reinvent yourself or reprove yourself to a new manager. But at the time for me, when I lost my place, I wasn't playing particularly well, but it wasn't the manager that I needed at that time in my career.
I don't think we're quite there yet, but we're seeing, I don't know what your Spurs mates are saying, but people are starting to get a bit divisive about Vicario. I don't think Jonny's particularly having him, not this season. No. I think I'm still pretty much behind him. I think it's not that easy to be a goalkeeper. at all, let alone for a top club when you're asked to do so many things. And I don't think there's that many out there that are better that I'd swap him for. But what's your view on Vicario? Because also we've got the Kinski situation, who is perceived as more of like a Flecken type that Frank had and signed at Brentford. I wonder what you think about the Spurs goalkeeping situation and whether we might see a transition at some point.
I think they're in a strong position. I think they've got two very strong goalkeepers vying for that number one place. Vicario, clearly the out-and-out number one. There are errors in his game at times, but you find a goalkeeper that doesn't make errors. Good goalkeepers are the ones that make less errors. That's what the net's there for, to stop you running after the ball so far. If you make a mistake, that's it, you're done. And I think you look at all the qualities of goalkeepers. All goalkeepers have different qualities. Vicario is a very, very good shot stopper. He leaves his line at times where people have the heart in the mouth, but he keeps doing it. And I think his relationship with Van der Ven, with Romero, Danso is improving. Yeah. I think he's developing. And I think that's important as a goalkeeper, to have that understanding. And I don't care what you say, there is always a number one goalkeeper at a club. And to have the confidence and support as a manager is important. And that's what Vicario has enjoyed. You just have to look at our rivals, Arsenal. When David Raya first came in, what did Mikel Arteta say? I've got two number one goalkeepers, Raya and Ramsdale. We'll rotate, we'll move, and whichever goalkeeper's in form. Complete rubbish. Yeah. Absolute rubbish. You buy a goalkeeper to be a number one. Raya came in. Ramsdale never played again, apart from when he had to play against Brentford, because Raya couldn't play because it was his parent club. And Vicario he's got that support from Thomas Frank at the moment. But in Kinski, they've bought a lot of potential, unproven at the top level. I think he got away with his first couple of games on adrenaline. Maybe he got found out at the Emirates. I think it was against Arsenal. Was that his third or fourth game that he had to play? Yeah, I think that was the real rabbit in the headlights moment for him. But I think he will develop, and he will make a top class goalkeeper, because you look at the individual qualities that he's got.
When you were playing, you're one of the first goalkeepers. We all sort of woke up and went, "Yeah, he can use his feet. He can pass. He can control it. He can kick it." It used to be in those days probably hands first, feet second. Is it now? It's got to be both, or do you think goalkeeping hasn't really changed that much? Let's just concentrate on catching the bloody thing.
Correct. Yeah, keep the ball out of the net. I think that's the fundamentals of goalkeeping. And when you look at the best goalkeepers in the world, even the game's even changing this year. You look at the amount of set plays, throw-ins, longer balls that's happening. You can see my assist record in the Premier League was only beaten last season by Edison. So, yes, it has been important that the goalkeepers do play with the feet, but actually longer passing is now coming back into the game. But yeah, as you say, that was one of the strongest parts of my game. But now, as a goalkeeper, you talk about the best goalkeepers in the world. For me, Alisson, Donnarumma, are they the best with their feet? No, but they're the best goalkeepers. Your job as a goalkeeper is keep the ball out of the net. Then actually, if you are of a level with your feet, then you can be used as in the build-up to draw the opposition out of a position. But we're seeing now, not the top teams, but maybe lesser teams are realising that the chances that they take by rolling the ball across the 6-yard box or playing it short across the 18-yard box, the risks that they're taking don't outweigh what they're going to get if they can break through the opposition's press. So yeah, it's definitely changing, but I think it goes around in cycles. It's changing, but it's changing back slowly.
Would you have enjoyed playing in that sort of system? I'm thinking of our game against City. James Trafford is obviously told what he has to do, and he probably gets his head scrambled and passes one straight to Pap Sarr. But I presume that's sort of part of his job, and if he didn't do it, he gets shouted at in the same way as you get shouted at for doing it and getting it wrong. I mean, it feels like keepers get hung out to dry a little bit because it's the setup is sort of killing them at times.
It's structured. That's the thing I will say. Imagine an NFL team, so they all have plays. So what they'll do is during the week now, they'll have a training ground. You'll set up in shape, and you'll walk through a system. You'll walk through shape. But what you'll walk through is trying to draw the opposition out, trying to break them down, and the goalkeeper's involved in that. So goalkeeper will know when it comes in from the right-hand side, there'll be 2 or 3 setups in front of him that he'll look at, and there's his options. So what's actually taken away at times is the ability for the goalkeeper to go, there's nothing on, I'm putting that out there, I'm kicking it away. There's only one person that looks stupid. If you make a mistake, it's you, because it goes past you. And if you're trying to play out and put the ball at risk, the thing for me is the important thing for coaches now is not to coach the goalkeepers so far that their on-field decision for themselves is taken out of the game. So like I say, when the ball comes back, immediately the goalkeeper will have 2 or 3 scenarios in his head, what they've worked on. He will know, if it's Manchester City, for example, he will know that Oscar Bob's going to drop in there, Rodri's going to pull in there, and he's got an option into Haaland there, or he's got to play through the midfield. into and try and break the lines.
Did you have any of that, or were you just get it and whack it on the pitch?
No, you would have some of that, but it wasn't emphasised on you as much as it is now. Yeah. There would be that, and there is team shape, and you do work on that. But actually, I ain't playing a ball through my two centre-halves into a midfield player with his back to an opposition who could potentially lose the ball and it's coming straight back at me. Yeah. If I feel at risk at any time whatsoever, it's going up there. Argue about it later. Yeah.
Silly one for me. World Cup 2006, probably the biggest moment of your career.
And, I didn't mean to do it. And if I did, I'd have put a heavy bet on it.
That's not what I'm asking. They trot you out the first game against Paraguay, I think, in black gloves. Must have been the first keeper I'd ever seen wearing black gloves. Who signed off on that? Because it had me worried straight away, because I'd been so used to seeing you in white gloves. And obviously you're not superstitious to change the colours before you play. But was that your decision, or some kit manufacturer who didn't know what they were doing?
No, I sat at my kitchen table and designed them with Nike. We said what we're going to do going into the World Cup. Yeah, what we're going to do going into the World Cup.
I told you ahead of your time. I said that.
Alison's obviously followed your inspiration.
I designed them in 2006. Sat there around my kitchen table. I was at Tottenham at the time. Around my kitchen table in London. What we're going to do? Let's do something different. So, what about black gloves? I went, okay. Right. They said, so we went through the whole system, went through the whole design. And I normally used to like the really white ones, which is why it was such a big change for me, because I used to love the white clean cut look, and not that they didn't look heavy, but we just thought with the black ones need to make them exactly the same. The big thing for me, the change, was the latex. Obviously goalkeepers will know that the latex, if you dye it or you make it a different colour, the quality of it actually changes. So we went through numerous tests, especially heat tests as well. It was a different type of latex, and it was a breathable backhand, because obviously black's going to attract the heat. Didn't want to get wet, sweaty, heavy hands, etc. in the heat. So there's a lot of work that went into those. We had to make sure that the latex on the palm was the same quality as the white. It was exactly the same. Where I went to the factory where it was all made. But yeah, that idea all originated from my kitchen table in Hadley Wood with the Nike people a long time before the World Cup.
Amazing. And before we let you go, excuse the pun, just going back to Thomas Frank, you think Spurs are in safe hands?
Very much so. Yeah, I think, like I said to you before, he's a builder, not a fireman, and I think Spurs are in safe hands for a long time to come. You look at the time that he was given at Brentford. You give a quality manager and a man manager that time with players and allow him to build on what he's got already. I think there's good times ahead. Early signs are very good anyway.
Appreciate it. We're looking forward to it. Paul, thank you so much for joining us once again, and we'll speak to you soon.
No problem, lads. Speak to you soon.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers.